Hi, this is Stan Phelps from marketinglagniappe.com, and welcome to the 10th episode of the Purple Goldfish video podcast. Today we're going to talk about the Pareto principle and introduce the idea of the Phelps corollary. We're going to talk about why you need to put the customer first and how social media is a game changer, and what to do when you're faced with a negative customer experience. Today's episode is brought to you by Synergy Events, an award-winning experiential marketing agency. Enjoy the podcast.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Purple Goldfish podcast. I'm here with Stan Phelps. I'm Jack Campese. Now, today we're going to talk about something called Paretos Law, and I'm going to let the man here tell us what that is.
Paretos Law. Pareto was an Italian economist, and basically he figured out that 20% of the people in Italy owned 80% of the land. That was his big, I guess, his big finding. And so it wasn't until like literally a couple decades later, there was, I forget the name, a social scientist who looked at it and said, that ratio can apply to a lot of stuff. And I think where it comes into marketing is the fact that literally, 20% of your traditional marketing is probably netting 80% of your results. So if you think about it, you're like, well, wow, if I'm getting 80% of my results from just 20% of my budget, well, that's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Well, the difficulty, you say, well, that's easy, right? I just cut the 80% that I know that's not effective, and I just put my money in that 20%. Well, the problem with traditional is it's very difficult to track that, right?
Yeah.
Wanamaker had a great quote. He said that, God, this is way back in the day, Philadelphia businessman John Wanamaker. He said that, he goes, I know that 50% of my advertising is wasted. He says the problem is I don't know which 50%, right? So that's like the conundrum. So if what I like to offer is what I call the Phelps corollary to Pareto's Law, right? So the idea is that, all right, we know that if 20% of our advertising is going to net us 80% of our results, the corollary of that is, well, 80% of my advertising is going to get me 20. Every $4 I invest, I'm only getting $1 back. And to me, that's like extremely inefficient.
Yeah. So what's the answer?
Well, what's the answer? So again, the whole kind of theory behind marketing Lagniappe is that instead of focusing all of that effort on the prospect, you invest that money to people that have already made it through the funnel, your customers, by putting your customers first. And essentially what I was
going to say, so there's prospects and then there's existing customers. So
right.
What you're saying is that your existing customers are lower hanging fruit.
Right, absolutely. So, it's a common fact that in terms of retention, if you can exceed expectations and you can kind of surprise and delight, we've talked about, do something that's noteworthy that gets people talking about you, then that's going to be absolutely your most effective form of marketing.
And then if you're hanging on to these customers, then as we've been talking about, then the byproduct of that is they will become your evangelist.
Right.
And they'll help you attract other customers.
Yeah.
So, in some ways it's self-perpetuating.
Right. You want to tap into that percentage. Well, we talked about there's this idea of the funnel. Then you actually the narrowest part, then you get your customers. And you think about it, you have new customers, you have repeat customers, you have kind of occasional customers, and then the holy grail is if you can get heavy users or like regulars, right? So if you can bump those customers down, make more news become regulars, and occasionals become frequents, and frequents become kind of evangelists, then that's what your marketing should be about. How do you deal with the people that you absolutely have control over, rather than chasing out here in the cloud?
Well, let's just quickly talk about then a little bit about customer service, having to do with that, because I know one of the things about social media was that it was a way that you connect with angry customers.
Right. If you're not proactive about it, right. So, social media has changed the game, because we talked about it before. If you were pissed off in the past, you might have to wait till Monday morning to tell people at work or to share that experience. Now you just take out your phone, you could tweet it, you could post to Facebook. It's immediate. I mean, there's no delay, and it goes out to thousands of people. So if you think about it, that's pretty powerful. A lot of that power is shifted back to the consumer now. And so if you're not giving them something to talk about, as we talked about in the last podcast, you're playing prevent defense, right?
Which doesn't win games.
It doesn't win games, right? It sets you up for failure. So, companies that aren't proactive in giving that ammunition, when they end up going on those social media channels, to me, they just look like they're apologizing a lot. Rather than creating kind of good stuff that gets people talking and gets the word out there. And then when they interact with somebody, you do have that chance to create that relationship.
But couldn't also that be an opportunity? You talk about unexpected and branded acts of kindness, and somebody is angry and you didn't realize it, and you see it. With social media particularly, you can now connect with that person, and if you mess things up, you could repair the relationship now.
Right.
And that may actually make your relationship better with that person and turn them from, a jilted person into an evangelist for you, because
right.
Oh my God, this place heard me.
Right. And they did something about it. They listened to me.
Yeah, so it's lemons into lemonade.
Right. And my theory with that is, if you are going to do that, again, the same concept applies. So if you're going to address a customer concern, you should almost ask the customer, what would you like in return for what happened? And a lot of times, if you put the ball in their court, they'll actually probably not even ask as much. But the challenge, and I think
they just want to be heard.
They want to be heard, but if you ask them to be fair about it, how would you like to see this resolved? What would you like? They may say, I want X and Y. And my thing with Lagniappe here works as well. You should not only give them X and Y, you should give them Z as well. Go above and beyond.
And you blow them away. So
right, you blow them away.
Instead of worrying about the hit you're going to take for that one, if you have to give them a discount or something like that, if you give them a discount and then something unexpected like, and a free next time, or 20% off, or a fruit basket, whatever it is, that unexpected thing that you're going to overwhelm them.
Right.
You're going to kill them with kindness.
Right.
And they're going to start talking about you like, or like a raving fan.
Right.
And the other opportunity is that you now, because of the social media platform, if you're keeping your eye on it, before you didn't even know somebody was saying something bad about you. So,
now you can tune in.
Now
Absolutely.
You can tune in.
Yeah. So
that's very interesting stuff there. And I think that's enough for our podcast this time around. So, why don't you do the pitch this time?
Oh, okay. So we're trying to get 1,001 examples of marketing Lagniappe, or what we call purple goldfish. So go to the website if you can. Submit an example. We talked about it. If you want to throw out a question to us, you have a business, you're trying to develop your own purple goldfish, we'd love to see if we can help you out.
Any questions or feedback about the podcast itself are welcome as well.
And subscribe to us on iTunes.
Yes.
And if you're so motivated to give us a little Lagniappe, we could appreciate a good comment, right?
It wouldn't kill us.
It wouldn't kill us.
All right. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Purple Goldfish Podcast.
Thanks.